Hey, this is TheShadowMantis, and welcome back to Let's Play Metroid. In the last episode, we did a couple of things in Norfair. We got the space jump boots, or whatever it's called, and in this episode, well, we're going to be going to Brinstar for a bit, and we're going to be heading back to Norfair. Now, you may have noticed the length of this video is extremely long. Now, there's a reason for that. Well, there's a couple of reasons. The main reason is because I record the areas of Metroid in, I guess, one fell swoop. I record Brinstar and then I stopped the recording. I recorded Norfair and then I stopped the recording. And now I'm heading back to Brinstar to get some stuff. Like the missile expansion and like an energy tank, and I also get a suit upgrade now. But I only go to Brinstar for about like 8 minutes, and I really decided that it was not enough time for a full episode, so I continued to go back to Norfair. Oh, god damn it, did you see that? I tried so hard to just nudge myself into the energy, and it didn't work. That's stupid. But back to what I was talking about. Yeah, Brinstar wasn't enough footage for, you know, the whole episode. So I returned to Norfair, and it seems like the Norfair trip was longer than I expected. 'Cause in Norfair, you don't have anything else to collect other than the screw attack, which is after what I'm getting here in Norfair. But there's basically a lot of missile expansions in Norfair, and they're just out of the way as hell. It's unbelievable how out of the way they are. You have to go so deep into Norfair to get them. Like, you gotta go, at one point, I'm pretty sure you have to do a spiral. Like, you go, I don't know how to show this to you. What am I saying? You go, I'm not even going to explain it. You just go through a spiral. Hopefully you know what that means. You probably don't. I don't even know what I mean. So, yeah. Norfair does take a while to get all that missile expansions, and all of them are really out of the way. And I guess another reason is, I guess I'm a little lazy to split up the parts. I mean, I'm too lazy to press a button. Come on. Are you kidding me? You guys expect me to press the split button to split the videos? Come on, guys, you know me. I'm not as good as that. So, now that we really have that out of the way, I wanted to talk about something. I lately have been getting into retro gaming a lot more. I mean, I looked up this, I literally looked up Retro Gaming Toronto, which is the city I live in. I'm not gonna tell you my address or anything, but you can know that I live in Toronto, Canada. So I looked up Retro Gaming Toronto, and I saw the address of the shop that first came up. So I went over there. I got myself an old-fashioned Game Boy. You know, the gray brick. You probably all heard of it, but I don't know if you've all seen it. Like, younger viewers might not have seen it before, and there's a couple of things I didn't even know were there on the Game Boy, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But with the Game Boy, I picked up Pokemon Red, Pokemon Silver, Wario Land 2, just 'cause I can. I love Wario Land. It's a fun game that it's not really appreciated as much as it should be. Super Mario Land 2, which is the one that everyone loves, and Donkey Kong Land, which I never even knew existed. And out of all of them, aside from the Pokemon games, which obviously would be my favorite, I think my favorite is actually Donkey Kong Land. Or Wario Land. I can't choose between those two, come on. They're completely different styles of gameplay. Wario Land is collecting coins and shit, and Donkey Kong is, you know, Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy, but it's not Donkey Kong Country, it's a whole different game, which is really what I like about it. It's a completely different game, made for the Game Boy, which is 8-bit, yet it plays like Donkey Kong Country, albeit it's a little bit more difficult because, you know, it's Game Boy, they had limitations, and also the screen is really zoomed in, which doesn't help. And Wario Land is just, you know, collecting coins, going through the level and stuff, simple Wario stuff. So you can't really compare the two. Aside from the Game Boy, I also picked up an old school SNES. With that, I picked up Super Mario World, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, NBA Jam, Donkey Kong Country, and Donkey Kong Country 2. And later, I actually did also pick up a Super Game Boy, which lets you play Game Boy games on the SNES. I just picked that up maybe a day ago or something. And out of all those games, I really don't know which one I like the best. Probably Donkey Kong Country 2, but maybe Zelda, I don't know. But I picked up all of those games and stuff. And even further, lately I actually ordered 4 more games, because, you know, I really like these new retro games. I got Donkey Kong for the Game Boy, which isn't the arcade game. It starts out as the arcade game and it has a whole adventure mode to go along with it, which is actually really cool. And I also got Star Fox for the SNES. Mind you, these haven't arrived yet, I just ordered them. I might talk about them later when they do arrive. So Star Fox for the SNES, which I hope is going to be good. I have heard it hasn't dated well, which is really why I picked it up. Because I want to see, you know, if I find it good. Because, you know, apparently it hasn't dated well. I also picked up F-Zero for the SNES, which I have played before. I actually own it on the Wii U Virtual Console. It's really good, and I want to see how it plays on the SNES. And finally, probably going to be my favorite Game Boy game, I picked up Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land. Now, you may or may not know, me and that game have a little bit of history lately. I actually tried to Let's Play it. I love that game to death, but it is not a fun game to Let's Play, mainly because there's nothing to talk about on live commentary. Now, speaking of live commentary, you probably should know that this is post-commentary, so I might take that route if I decide to Let's Play Wario Land for the Game Boy. But that's for another day to talk about, so... Now, I really didn't know a lot about these retro games when I first picked them up. Honestly, I just didn't really know, like, the specs. I really still don't know the specs. And I didn't know a couple of things about the actual systems. I did not know that the Game Boy had a contrast slider. Yeah, when I first saw that, I was just like, what? Contrast? What's the point of this? And also on the SNES, I didn't know it had an eject button. I thought it was just cartridges, you just put them in, you know, pulled them out. But that thing between the reset button and the power button is actually, you can push it in and it's an eject. I did not know that. So, that was actually pretty cool to find out. Also, wait. What was I thinking of? I just thought of something. So yeah, I didn't know that about the systems. And hopefully, I've been looking around, and I really want to get a cartridge of Earthbound. Earthbound, you may not know, hopefully you do, because I've heard it's a really, really cool game. It's an RPG on the SNES, and it had some bad history with Nintendo. Not, you know, bad history per se, but it was really a confusing history. I won't go into depth about it, but basically here's the gist. Earthbound is a sequel to a game called Mother. You know what, let's go even further back. In Japan, there was a game for the NES called Mother. Now, when Mother was being ported to the NES for us North American players, it was all completed and everything, and it was titled Earthbound. Now, for some reason, Earthbound was not released. Yeah, I know. Why? I don't know why. I just don't think they had it in them. Final Fantasy, which had recently been released, was not well taken, and I don't think NES owners were ready for another pretty big RPG. So, even though Mother was finished, it wasn't released in America. So, a couple of years later, a sequel is released in Japan called Mother 2. Now, this game actually did come to America under the title of Earthbound, which was originally supposed to be the name of the first game. Now, Earthbound was not really well received in America. I mean, it is now, but back then it wasn't. Not many people actually picked it up, so I wouldn't call it rare. It's not rare, but there's not really. It wasn't popular, so they never like re-released it or anything. And that's really the problem. Earthbound has not been re-released. I know Earthbound has actually been stated that it is coming to the Virtual Console on the Wii U soon. But yeah, that's really it. So I've been just looking around for an Earthbound cartridge. I gave you a little bit of background info if you don't know. You probably should. If you want to go look some more stuff up, just search Earthbound history or some shit. So I have been looking around for these Earthbound cartridges, which go for around $100 to $200, just the cartridge. Now, why this is because it hasn't been re-released or at all. And it's not even rare, so I don't know why they're priced this high. But I don't even know. Yeah, I want one of these cartridges. I'm probably gonna buy one eventually. And I really want to play it on my SNES. I don't really want to play it on the Wii U. I want to play it on the original console. So, also what I want to pick up on the SNES is Super Metroid. I really want to get Super Metroid. I've played it before. It's a great game. It's a little expensive for the SNES. That's why I haven't picked it up already. It fares for around, what's like $70 at my local retro gaming store. I can probably get it somewhere for $40, but even then it's really pricey. And I guess talking about Metroid games, I kind of wanted to talk about why this game is really not as well received as any of the other Metroid games. I mean, it has all the stuff. It has the missile expansions, the energy tanks, it has all the upgrades, but it just isn't taken as well as, you know, Super Metroid. And I know there's a couple of simple reasons for that, like you can't crouch, you can only turn into a ball, and that really doesn't help when it comes to the short enemies. But I think the real reason is Super Metroid, its world was like, you could explore the world, find new things, and it was really cool and really awesome. But Metroid, every room kind of looks the same, and it's not really like exploring. It's like you're going through, I guess, a cave. Going through a cave is cool for a while, right? But if a cave just goes on, it's just a tunnel. And you just go tunnel after tunnel, and eventually it gets a little boring. And that is why I don't think Metroid is really well received. Now, continuing on with, I guess, what video games are better than each other in the Metroid series, I wanted to kind of pit the 2D Metroids and the 3D Metroids against each other. I mean, what Metroid is better? The Metroid Prime series, which is 3D, or, you know, Super Metroid, its type of game. And each game has its strengths and weaknesses. Super Metroid and that stuff has really good platforming, and you can really... The combat isn't as good, but I feel like the exploration is a little bit better. With Metroid Prime and the 3D Metroid games, it's really not about exploration, it's kind of about puzzle solving, if you think about it. To get most of the expansions, you go into a room that you've been in before, and you solve a puzzle that you couldn't solve before. Now, with the 2D Metroids, you really just go around and find these expansions. But that's not what it's like in the 3D ones. And I guess there's a couple of expansions where you just go around and find them, but those aren't really the memorable ones in the 3D games. But the 3D games have better, I guess, how do I put this, environments. I really like the environments. I mean, Norfair here, this just goes on and on. Oh my god. No! Alright. So, you see that pit right there? You may have noticed that my health has gone down a lot. That's because that is one of those pits I was talking about in episode 2, where if you fall down, you really can't get back up unless you're super, super lucky. I guess I was pretty lucky, because my health dropped quite a lot between the cut and now. And what was I talking about? I was talking about Metroid and the 2D versus the 3D. So personally, I like the 3D games. I like the combat better. I like the world better. In all of the games, I like the world better. And I don't... Yeah, I guess that's basically it. I mean, I like the puzzle solving way to get the expansions better than actually just finding them for some reason. I guess that might just be me, but seeing the scores on all the review sites for the 3D Metroid games, it's probably not. And I guess in the comments you can tell me what your favorite Metroid is if you played one. If you haven't played one, I really do want you to, because these games, they take a while to get into. You need to play a couple of them. I had to play 2 before I actually liked them. I played Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advanced, and then Metroid Prime, and that's really where my Metroid love started. And I really implore you to go get a copy of some Metroid game. Probably not Other M, because that wasn't a really great game. And I'm not even saying that just because of the mutual hatred for it. Most people just don't like it because of the story, and they never really looked past that. But I don't like it because it's really... the game's really made terribly. I mean, the combat is really, really bad. It's unbelievably bad. And other than that, like, areas are just so poorly made. I really don't want to talk about Other M. I really just want to forget about that thing and go on with my life. So, if you want to start playing Metroid, I would probably recommend you picking up Metroid Zero Mission if you have a Game Boy Advance, because that's probably one of my favorites. That and Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime is a great game, and I really actually want to replay that game, but I guess I can do that at a later date. My next project is, well, I'm keeping it a secret for now, but it's gonna be pretty ambitious, so I don't want to do a couple of things at a time. Actually, I'm not gonna promise anything, so I was gonna say something else, but no, I really don't want to give away hints or anything, because I'm not even sure if I'm gonna do this project, so I don't want to say anything. So let's just stop talking about it, alright? I'm almost done here, as you might be. Actually, how would you be able to tell? I was gonna say, I'm almost done here, as you may be able to tell, but how would you? Actually, you probably could by the time of the video. What's the time, like 20 minutes in now? Alright, how stupid am I? Just get up there. How long is this gonna take? Oh my god. That's one thing about post-commentary. You look back on your video that you just did, and you say, what the fuck am I doing? Go up there. And eventually you just start calling yourself out as an idiot. And it's not a pretty sight. So we're like 20 minutes in. I'm running out of things to talk about. This is a really long session. I guess I could talk about the Game Boy again. I really like the Game Boy. I like, for some reason, the original Game Boy the best. If it had a backlight, that would probably be one of my favorite consoles, by far. It's already one of my favorite consoles. I like the feel of it, and I just love the games it plays. I'm gonna be honest here, what originally got me into playing and getting that Game Boy was I wanted to play Pokemon Red on my Game Boy Advance SP. And I know this is gonna sound really stupid here, like fucking first world problems stupid, but in truth, I didn't want to play it on my Game Boy Advance SP because I didn't like how the color changed when I went to a different area. There, I said it. That is actually why I picked up the old Game Boy, because I didn't want the color to change when I was entering an area. How stupid is that? But I guess it's not that stupid, because it pushed me to get the old Game Boy, which I really love. And yeah, so if you have some money laying around, I'd really advise to pick it up, because even though it's by far outdated, there are some great games on that system, and I implore you, I know I've already implored you to pick up a Metroid game, but I also implore you to pick up the Game Boy. Hell, pick up the Game Boy and Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, which is a Game Boy game. And that game, talking about Metroid 2, jeez, we're hitting a lot of birds with the same stone. The stone being the video, and the birds being the topic. I'm sorry, but I had to just explain that. I don't know why that game gets so much hate. Metroid 2. Personally, I like Metroid 2 better than this game. And I can say that because I do. And hell, I might actually let's play that game after this. Because I'm gonna be honest, in the beginning, I didn't really want to let's play this game. It is difficult, it is confusing, it is really difficult to commentate over. And I guess I really did it as a challenge to myself. So, at this point in time, in the actual game, I've picked up all of the expansions in Norfair, all of the energy tanks, and now I'm heading to Kraid. What time is it? Like 25 minutes in. That is crazy. That it takes a person with a map of the area 25 minutes to get everything in this little area. I guess it's not really that little, but it's pretty small when you look at it. And mind you, it took me 10 minutes to get out of that pit when I cut. It took me 10 minutes. I cut it out. But that was just 10 minutes of me jumping and morph ball bombing, hoping to get out of that dreaded pit, and it didn't happen for a full 10 minutes, which is crazy. That is insane. I don't know why they put those pits in the game. It's like a death sentence, or at least it just takes half of your health and just gone. It's crazy. And that's really one of the reasons why I hate Norfair. So what was I talking about? Metroid 2. Yeah, it is really hated, and I don't know why. I mean, it took the conventions of the first Metroid, which was the exploration, and it gave you an objective. This game does not really give you an objective. It just places you in the world and says, go. But Metroid 2 tells you to go kill 39 Metroids on their home planet to exterminate them. And I guess in a way that made the game a little more linear. Hell, it actually is pretty linear when you think about it. I mean, it starts off as Area A, let's call it, and then it goes from a tunnel to Area B, and then you beat Area B, and you just tunnel to Area C. But each area within itself is extremely confusing. So, linear? No. Somewhat linear? I guess. So that's really the main reason why it's hated. But I kind of like the linearness of the game. It adds a different feel than this game. And this game was just too confusing, let's be honest. Oh, well, I guess I'm out of time. So thanks for watching. And I will see you in the next episode, where I will hopefully talk about something else. Bye.